Live picture from Skyfox. As you see there, a number of LAPD or sheriffs or law enforcement patrol cars separating two different groups of protesters, of demonstrators. So in front of those cars is a rather large group of people in the San Pedro and 2nd Street area. It's near Weller Court. If you've ever been to Little Tokyo, then perhaps you're aware of the Weller Court area. There's a lot of little restaurants. There's an anime comic book store. And right now we're watching as two police officers, it looks as if they were gearing up. They were putting on their helmets and their shields. Not sure if that means that they're thinking about something a little bit more serious than just a skirmish line. You do see some illegal fireworks that are being set off on a fairly regular basis. There goes another one. And it's perhaps because of that that we're watching as those police officers are getting ready for something, or they're getting prepared. So they've got those helmets on, they got the shields on. There are lots of police officers standing by, but yeah, perhaps these are newer police officers that are arriving on scene, getting ready to interact, or at the very least do what they can to control this crowd. That's a pretty good sized crowd, frankly. That's different from the crowd that we watched from Laura Diaz's point of view, where she mentioned there were about 50 people that decided to sit down, almost like a sit-in of the 60s, in order to demonstrate their distaste, their protestations to what's going on. In this case, back then it was the Vietnam War, and now it is President Trump and his anti-immigrant policies and the raids that have been conducted. I'm sorry, say again? Okay, now we're going to go back to Santa Ana and look at the situation down there. Gina Silva, are you down there? I didn't realize that you were heading towards the Orange County area.
Yes, we left Whittier and now we're here in Santa Ana at 4th and Broadway. And you can see here the crowd is walking away from where the officers for the deputies are. As you know, this is a protest that initially started around 5 p.m. and there were about 200 people, immediately grew. Protesters rallied against recent immigration actions by ICE. The demonstration, as I said, began peacefully with families and local activists waving signs and flags. But then it got out of control when demonstrators attempted to block a federal van from leaving the building. That's when the federal agents deployed smoke canisters and fired pepper balls to disperse the crowd. At this point, it's been deemed, oh, I'm sorry. You know, everyone's been ordered to leave.
Are you smelling pepper balls, Gina?
Some sort of
Is this the news station?
Is it tear gas?
Yes. It's getting really difficult to be able to communicate because it's burning.
Hey, keep moving.
I'm going to have to send it back to you.
Okay. All right. So that's Gina Silva in Santa Ana. So clearly there has been a situation where she sort of suggested it was federal agents, so the National Guards perhaps, who wanted to get the demonstrators away from a vehicle, away from an ICE vehicle, which then meant there was tear gas or pepper balls or something that forced the crowd to move away from the vehicle itself, and also affected her ability to talk and to see. We did see a lot of people in her live shot, in her purview, that showed people with masks over their nose. It could be because they're trying to protect their anonymity, or it could also be because they wanted to filter out as much of the tear gas or the smoke as possible. So you see there that we've had sort of a limited view of what's been going on in Santa Monica. We did see a couple of arrests earlier in the hour, but right now it does appear that this is the situation. We'll get back to Gina when we can. But now we have another live shot to show you, another live situation with Laura Diaz. So she was on the other side of 2nd Street versus where we looked at that larger crowd near Weller Court. Laura, you're closer to Alameda, so 2nd and Alameda, correct?
Yeah, we're basically 2nd and San Pedro. And when I talked to you last about a half an hour ago, it was very peaceful. People were sitting down. They were trying to stage a sit-in. About 30 minutes later, of course, the emotion has ratcheted up. Somebody actually was able to discharge a chemical fire extinguisher, and that seemed to really ratchet up the emotion here. We were all coughing, tough to breathe, and then the people who were sitting down stood up. People started running, and since then there's been a lot more screaming and people upset about what's occurring here. So that's how much 30 minutes can make a difference, Susan. We've watched it throughout the last 4 days, that the emotion ebbs and flows and people's reaction ebbs and flows. The sheriffs and the PD that are behind us, the police from various agencies, have had fireworks thrown at them. So it was really noisy here just a little while ago, and then the crowd began pushing back. They are no longer sitting there. They are standing. And I think I wasn't able to actually hear them say it's time to disperse, but I suspect that's what they're telling the crowd. It's time to go home. But right now, people are standing up. They're waving flags. A different vibe than when I spoke to you 30 minutes ago. So I think we're all waiting to see what the next move will be.
Right.
Laura Diaz reporting live from Little Tokyo, sending it back to you.